Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Misha McKittrick. This is a podcast where I believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do. And where we also believe that cultivating gratitude for people outside of yourself actually turns out to be another form of a gift for you. That's what we're diving into today. I can't wait to introduce you to a term that is new to me and the way that it allows us to ponder gratitude in a different way. During this season, I really have been approaching gratitude in such a wild way with being able to promote it for you. And by way of doing that, it is really allowing me to check into gratitude in ways that are so cool. And it's literally growing inside of me. We're doing all of the podcasts leading up to Thanksgiving around the idea of thankfulness, gratitude, and the different ways and angles that we can look at that. You know, on Instagram, we're talking about gratitude a lot, and I'm offering things like a gratitude playlist, which is so fun and a bit eclectic. So if you're interested in that, then you can just DM me the word gratitude on Instagram at myfriendmisha, and I will send you that list. Just let me know that you're looking for the playlist that is all about gratitude. That's something that's super fun to listen to while you're preparing all of the food for Thanksgiving on all of this business. It's so fun. Another thing that we are doing around gratitude and bringing gratitude and helping you really cultivate this idea of gratitude in your heart is an entire meditation collection around gratitude. So if you're looking for that, you can also check the link in the show notes and you'll find it. It is such a fun collection of different meditations that you kind of can look at gratitude from different angles as you meditate and try to really feel that incredible feeling in your heart of gratitude for someone or something in your life. And the topic that we're talking about in the podcast today, we also have a meditation around the idea of indebtedness, really in being able to give gratitude outside of yourself. And so that's a really fun meditation that is also in the collection. And one more thing before we jump into today's episode that I want to talk to you about and to tell you to prepare for, that I'm so excited for, is that around Black Friday, I'm going to be doing an incredible sale of everything that I can offer you. So the Heart Sync course and all of the meditation collections that we have up until this point will be on an incredible discount. So watch my Instagram stories for it next week. And honestly, welcome something completely brand new into your life by learning how to cultivate this state of heart coherence inside of your body and the way that it completely blesses your life. It's absolutely incredible. So watch for that fun sale that we will be having next week. And without further ado, let's jump into the episode. There's a new concept of something that I learned this year that is not really a new concept, but it's so cool to me that it has a name. This is called indebtedness, specifically transcendent indebtedness. Through this podcast, we're going to contrast taking things for granted and the idea of truly recognizing all that we have to be grateful for in our life, and the way that when we really get in alignment with it, that we change who we are, and therefore we change how we experience life. There's literally so much to ponder in this idea. So let's take it apart. So there's recently a study done and some findings reported by Janae Nelson, Sam Hardy, and Diane Tice. And this is the idea that when we express indebtedness, this idea or recognition that the good things in our life come from other people and from God, that what actually resides in us is higher levels of empathy, and that we're more likely to offer love and service than those who express only gratitude, right? Like basically the difference is between it being a very personal experience where we're just kind of writing out a gratitude list and it becoming an event and something that happens outside of us. And the idea that when we recognize that the things that are in our lives are coming to us from external sources It opens our eyes to see more, and it also changes us on a physical level, and it conditions our body to believe that we have so much to be grateful for, and we know that what we focus on grows, right? So every single thing that we say we have so much of continually comes to us. So if we have gratitude in general for so many things, it continues to flow into our life. I love that in the study they found that participants with high levels of empathy and indebtedness or transcendent indebtedness were more likely to donate to a charity after the experiment than those who just felt gratitude, right? That there was this action created inside of them that asked them to reach out, to do something else with it, to create more good. One of the conductors of the study said, remembering who you are grateful to is better than remembering what you are grateful for. Now, there is this idea that when I first heard of this, like indebtedness, I was kind of like, you know what? I need to look that up and kind of let it settle and make a little bit more sense in my mind. Because the true definition of indebtedness is a condition of owing, right? Owing money, or like I owe you for something that you did for me, and that we need to have this, settling up sort of transaction. And then this idea behind it that if there's something for me to do to be able to receive that I will never be able to repay on my part. Like it will always be something that I owe for. Okay. And that's a really interesting way to look at gratitude, in the idea of if you are also raised, with the ideas of like when someone does something nice for you, do something nice back, so forth. I mean, that's just a great way to live, but it actually robs us of the true feeling when we feel that it is a transaction. And something that I like even more is that the idea of the doing on our part, okay, the feeling that I feel grateful towards you, that is the part that makes us better. And so, yes, while we are continually given more and more and more, the more that we actually feel and recognize that, the more that it elevates our vibration. And so it's like a double gift. Do you see that? It elevates our vibration. It asks us to live in a higher way and associated with higher energy. And guess what? What we also know about that is that love, that feeling of love and gratitude, is going to release more oxytocin inside of our body. It's going to help create a different chemical environment inside of us. And that is why we then feel that overflow, that idea that we want to pay it forward. So it is so cool to really look at the way that it makes us more. That actually having this recognition of the way that people and God blesses our lives, that we are given so much that it makes us more, that it allows us to align with a vibration that creates absolutely the best life that we could have. It puts us in the same vibration of love, and then it just overflows, and it just never stops, because the more until we as humans like bring ourselves out of the cycle, right? Because the more that we continually recognize, the more we're given. And do you see how I keep repeating the pattern over and over? Because this is really what is allowing our hearts to grow, is this recognition. And so transcendent indebtedness to me is far beyond owing. It is the ultimate source of recognition and alignment. And then like the refining of the person, of who I am. It's incredible. So I want to paint for you this little bit of a contrast. Okay? Because I love contrast, and I love the way that it helps us to see things a little bit more clearly. So there's a line that Bart Simpson says on this, right, the cartoon The Simpsons, and he's being asked to say grace at dinner. This is the quote from him. He says, "Dear Lord, my dad worked for this food, so thanks for nothing." Ooh, I hope that just like kind of stripped your heart a tiny bit. You know what I mean? Because that is intended to be something funny that people laugh at, until you really get like, that is so far out of alignment and dropping me into that low energy, I want to be on the other side of that. So look at what the Japanese do. The Japanese have this term called itarikamusu. And this Japanese phrase translates into humbly receiving. They say it before they eat a meal. And the phrase is used as a way of showing gratitude and respect for everything and everyone that made the meal in front of you possible. It is really meant to honor all. And I think that that's interesting. A lot of us have this ritual of saying grace. I love that this is something that the Japanese do, that they have this mindful recognition as they sit before a meal. They recognize with this simple gesture of gratitude, towards food, nature, one another, and everything is like all encompassed in this phrase. I love when we pray and we say individually, thanks, and we pour gratitude over lots of different areas that we can think of to be able to be grateful for. One thing that I think is interesting about the Japanese tradition is that they feel uncomfortable eating before saying that phrase, right? And so when they're culturally in a different place and, someone's in their home that's not used to doing that, or when they're in other people's homes, and how that kind of throws them just a little bit. And, those people who are used to saying a prayer before eating, you kind of are always watching to, the head of the household to see like what's normal and what are we doing? Are we praying, or are we, and just trying to respect people's like traditions and the rituals of the things that help them and enrich their life. I remember being at a conference, and at this conference we were taught a little bit about mindful eating. And while we were doing this mindful eating exercise, we chose something on our plate and put it on our fork, like a bite, and prepared this bite. And before we put it in our mouth, we looked at it, appreciated the colors, the texture, what it looked like, how appetizing it looked. When you put it in your mouth, you savored all of the taste. You thought about everything that went in to prepare it. Everything from, the kitchen it was prepared in, all the way to the origin of its life, right? And everything in between, like the person who handled it in the grocery store, and the farmer, and all of everything that really went into bringing that food to your plate and allowing you to taste it with that much gratitude as you're eating it. It's literally like, it kind of blows your mind just taking one bite of food that way. And so with this contrast being, with Bart Simpson's words, and this pouring of gratitude over our food, we're really looking at the contrast between human effort and also the unseen support and blessings that make that effort fruitful. And so a lot of times it's just so stripped when we only see it from the angle of like, I'm so strong, I worked so hard, I did this, I did that, right? I. And when we don't see that the things that come by our quote own hand, right? That those things are still blessed by things that are outside of our control, right? Like how much we have learned and been blessed to learn to be able to do the thing that we did that brought the thing forward, right? Or the land, the way the soil was blessed, like if we're talking about farming, or the rain, or right there really is so much to see beyond only what our own hand did. So hard work is essential, but much of life's abundance is truly beyond our control, and it can be seen as a gift. The English author Aldous Huxley said, most human beings have an almost infinite capacity for taking things for granted. Ooh, that hits me to the core. Like, I think that is so true. I think that's true in our relationships, both, our marriages, our friendships, our relationships with our family, taking things for granted, that just so many things, which is why it feels so essential to literally drop into gratitude on purpose. William Davies was talking about, speaking of loved ones that he had lost, and sort of the regret that he carried in his heart about that. He said, I remember those happy days and often wish I could speak into the ears of the dead the gratitude which was due them in life and so ill returned. Oh, that is like That's a completely different perspective to approach even this holiday season that we're coming upon, right? Being able to be free with the words that are flowing from your mouth in truly thanking and loving the people that are surrounding you, thanking God for every single thing that you can see, that you can at least see, because there's so much we can't see that truly did also come by way of other people and by God, that we might as well at least try to free our tongue around the things that we can see. William Arthur Ward said, "Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it." It is truly something that we need to cultivate. And if you are to say we must cultivate this gift, notice that fits, that term, quote, gift fits, right? Not we need to cultivate this habit. It doesn't fit as well. What sounds right suggests that the very thing that we're cultivating is something that gives back to us. I love this story about the bicycle at the auction, and watch for the transcendent indebtedness that happens in the story. This is a story also that takes place when it was normal for bicycles to be purchased for around $10. The District of Columbia Police auctioned off about 100 unclaimed bicycles Friday. $1, said an 11-year-old boy as the bidding opened on the first bike. The bidding, however, went much higher. $1, the boy repeated hopefully each time another bike came up. The auctioneer, who had been auctioning stolen or lost bikes for 43 years, noticed that the boy's hopes seemed to soar higher whenever a racer-type bicycle was put up. Then there was just one racer left. The bidding went to $8. "Sold to that boy over there for $9, said the auctioneer. He took $8 from his own pocket and asked the boy for his dollar. The youngster turned it over in pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, took his bike and started to leave. But he only went a few feet. Carefully parking his new possession, he went back and gratefully threw his arms around the auctioneer's neck and cried." And that is it, my friend. There is no way that boy could have really paid him back, right? Especially in that moment. That would have been a really difficult thing. But for him to have the feeling and to openly recognize, that is the very thing that takes away the transaction side of the repayment. I hope that this Thanksgiving, that this is something that can be on your heart, that you can see that we really have way more than we can even be grateful for. And by even trying to cultivate this gift, it helps us to be a better person. I love the words of Thomas Monson. He said, "Think to thank. In this, we find a pattern for personal happiness." And I hope that you see that through gratitude, through transcendent indebtedness, that you have more power than you think you do. I hope you love this episode and that it really blesses your season of thanks and allows your eyes to see a little bit more of what you have to be grateful for and your heart to feel more of what you have to be grateful for. That's the key. Remember the podcast last week, feeling the gratitude. And I think that's a lot of the reason that transcendent indebtedness works the way that it does, is because when we are recognizing it in an outward fashion, we're more likely to also feel it. Isn't that an incredible way to kind of think about it? It's so great. So reminder to watch for the sale of All Things My Friend Misha next week. You'll find Heart Sync on sale, which is the course that helps you learn how to feel heart coherence in your body, and then the meditations that are these different collections that allow you to bring something forward at the same time using heart coherence to bring, something like excitement forward in your life. We have a really fun podcast coming up next week with Brooke Romney, so stay tuned for that. And today, before we go, I want to remind you of a quote from last week that I love so much, I just want to repeat it over and over and put it on a t-shirt type of thing. And that quote is by Rumi, and it says, "Wear gratitude like a cloak and it will bless every corner of your life." Until next time, my friend.